Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you step by step how to paint this whimsical little house, a little type of hobbit house with some pumpkins and some flowers around. This is going to be on an 8x10 double primed and stretched canvas. However, choose whatever size canvas that you want for yours. And I've got the following colors here: neon yellow, cool, neon orange, titanium white, light love green, hunter green, turquoise, bright aqua green, cobalt blue hue, neon rose, and Mars black. So I'm going to start the painting with a number 30 Filbert brush. I'm going to get my canvas a little bit wet so that it helps me blend my paint around. Just a little bit wet though. You don't want too much water, otherwise that's going to thin your acrylic paint too much and you won't have enough saturation. Okay, so I'm going to start with some blue at the top, just pulling back and forth, side to side, nice and long sweeping strokes. I'm going to add a little bit of the neon rose without washing my brush off. Just a little like that. See how the little streaks that I have in here? I'm not over blending. And then right away into some white. Wiggle, wiggle, and then sweep. Okay, I'm going to work the rest of the paint out of my brush all the way down. A little bit more white. I'm just going to use a little bit more water to help work the rest of the paint out of the brush. Okay, so the next step is to dry this all off, and then we're going to come in with our black and our dark green. Okay, using the same brush, it's clean and dry. I'm going to take my black, and I know this is going to seem scary, but I'm going to start up here and watch the shape. So I'm going to start about just above halfway. So find your middle and then go a little bit above the middle halfway across the canvas. And then go up and then down. So up and then scoop down. Okay, and then what we're going to do is just fill this all in. So we can use a little bit of water as well and just work it down. So a little bit of black goes a long way. Okay, then just keep working it out until you get right down to the bottom of the canvas. Back and forth. Okay, a little bit more black. And I'm just gonna come up a little bit more there. So this is gonna be our sloping roof line, and we're gonna have all this foliage around. So it's like a little hobbit house that's underground. Really, really fun and whimsical. Okay, so I'm gonna wash my brush off. And the next thing I want to do is take one of my mop brushes. Now I like to use these 1-inch oval mop brushes by Princeton. They don't shed and the shape is really nice. It's narrow, which I like for getting in more narrower spaces. It makes me feel like I have a little bit more control. However, you can use any mop brush that you like, any stipple brush. If you don't have either of those, go ahead and just use a little Filbert brush, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do, you definitely don't want to get this brush wet, otherwise it's going to lose its poofy shape, and that's what we really want it for, is to create poofy looking little bushes and moss and foliage. So my black paint is still wet. If yours is dry, you can approach adding this next layer of paint on dry paint as well. So you can either do wet on wet or wet on dry. So just taking a little bit of this, and see how I'm loading the brush. I don't have a whole bunch of paint on the end of my brush, just a little bit. And I'm going to start here on the top. So kind of like I'm adding my brush, or applying my brush halfway on the black and halfway on the sky. Take a little bit more and just tap, tap, tap. Okay, and then we're going to come down here. We're going to leave it dark in this area here, and then we're going to skip this area where our house is going to be, and we're just going to add a little bit of foliage down in here. Now we can't see it very well because it's dark green on black, right? But the next color we're going to take without washing our brush off is the light olive green. Now you can take both greens and mix them together if you like, but make sure you're tapping to load your brush. I'm going to start again halfway on the green and halfway on the sky. And we'll add a little bit down here. Kind of just start nestling our little house in there and having a little bit of bushes and grass and stuff along here. Now what I want to do next is dry this off, then come in with a clean and dry mop brush again and add my next layer of highlights. Okay, so I've got another dry, clean oval mop brush. It's a 1 inch. And I'm going to take a little bit of white this time. Not too much paint, okay? Just a little bit. If you take too much paint, you're going to lose the shape of the brush. Okay, so I'm going to start up at the very top. Again, partially over where I left off. And then a little bit above on the sky. And we can have a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit more of both of those greens in there. And tap here in a few areas, leaving a few spots dark so we still have some shadows and contrast. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take a little bit more of the greens. And this time, instead of tapping, I'm going to gently pull to create some grass. And just have it right in this area here. And I may need to add a little bit more later on. We'll see. I'm going to wash that brush out, and now I'm going to switch over to one of my little Filbert brushes here. This one's a number 6, and I'm going to take some orange and a little bit of black, turn across to load, put a little bit of yellow in there. Let's get rid of that. I accidentally picked that up, but that's okay because we have more orange and black. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start pulling lines back and forth, side to side, leaving the outer edges a bit darker so we have shadow from the overhang of our roof line. And a little bit of white, more orange, and then some more lines, making some areas here a little bit lighter and more visible. Now I'm going to take more orange and white. I'm gonna focus on these areas in here, more in the center. And this is gonna dry a little bit darker because we've got that black underpainting, right? And I'm just gonna slide my brush. Now, if you want to make perfect lines, have it look like maybe a log type of hobbit house or siding or whatever kind of exterior you want on your house, you can just make it up. It's up to you. I'm just going to leave mine like that for now. And what I'm going to do is start coming in with my windows and maybe a few little front steps, and then we'll work our way to like a staircase that's going to come from here on an angle here and then over to the door here. And I'd like to make a round door, and I'm thinking that I'd like to make it sort of a purple color. So I'm going to take a little bit of white, blue, and rose, and I'm going to go up and over and then brush lines down like this. Okay, then I'm going to take some white and a little bit more and just pull some lines. Okay, then I'm going to go back to my black with a little bit of orange in there, and I'm going to outline a little bit more paint. Bring these sides in a little bit more to make it more of a circle like hobbit houses have. Then I'll add a few little stairs. Have a little landing there, and then we're just going to start pulling lines that come over here. Then a little bit more paint. Let's add a little bit of that kind of tan color. So I start over here in the middle, and then I pull my lines in this direction. So each time I add a line or a step, I'm starting it a little bit more towards the left. And then what I'm going to do is start a little bit to pull them more towards the right to make these a little more visible. I'll add a bit of white and orange. So I will wait for that to dry a little bit before I add any more, but I want to add some cozy lit windows, have some inviting warm light. So I'm taking yellow cool, orange, and a little bit of white, and I think I'll have a few little square windows here and maybe another little one over there, maybe a little one, and just a little one on the edge there. Add a circle one here, round window. It's fun to add all these little different shaped windows, you know, change it up from squares and rectangles, or you can keep them all circles if you want. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that yellow, mix it up with my orange and white. And then I'm going to have a little one up here. have a little loft up there. I'm going to add some more color to it. And I'll add a little bit on the steps here. And maybe just a little bit down here below, casting down. And I think I'm going to go back to my white and my purple colors. I'll add some more there. And then go around with my black again. And I want to add just a little window inside. So I'm just going to do a little half circle window right here. I'm just going to take a second to dry that off, and then I can add the layers a little bit easier. Okay, so I just took a few seconds here. It doesn't take too long to dry it off. And I can just go over now. Again, just with like a half circle type of shape. And then a little bit more yellow and white. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of black and blue and the rose. And I'm going to just place my pinky right here where it's dry, and I'll come and add some lines for the boards on the door. And then a little bit of purple on these stairs, just for fun. Okay, I'm gonna just tidy up with a little bit of black on either side, top and bottom of the windows. And then I'll come in with some trim and shutters that will match the door. We might even tie in a little bit of turquoise too, because I know that would look really pretty together. But see how it really starts to stand out. And then we need a little door handle here. So I'm just going to do a little dab like that and a little line. Might wait for that to dry a little bit more. And then I'm going to just tap a little bit of black up in here for some extra shadow and depth. It'll help to make everything look a little bit more 3D. And you can pull little lines here from the edge. Very faint little lines like that. I'm going to add some black under the stairs or in between the stairs. This will also help make them look 3D. But less when we get up there. Okay, so I'm going to outline this window. We're going to put some lines for a grid in the window too, but I'm going to be using a different brush. Using a liner brush. Now this one's a long one. You can use any size of liner brush that you want. I'm just going to take some black and I'll start with this one here. I'm going to add 2 lines down and then one across in the middle. And then carefully outline this one a little bit more. Add a few more shadows here with just a little bit of this black. And I think I'll just add one in the middle, one like that, and one like that. Okay, then I'm going to come over here, add a cross. I'm going to do 2 lines down in this one. Don't forget, you can add a little bit of water to your liner brush. That will really help work the paint out more smoothly. Add just a little bit more to the handle here. And I'll do 2 lines. Actually, maybe 3. I can fit 3 here. Picking up just a little bit of water, see? A little bit like that. And then 1, 2 across. And then I've got room for 2 here. And then just a single cross on that one. Add a little bit more black in here on the door. I'm going to add a little highlight of my warm peachy color here on part of the door handle, just so that it stands out a little bit more. Okay, now we can start adding some shutters. And for my shutters, I think I want to use purple again. So the blue, the rose, and a little bit of white. So I'm just going to add over these ones on the side, just skinny ones. And then on a little angle like that, diagonally. And you can make these ones look a little rounded. So picture how they would close. They would close with straight lines here, but they would be rounded on the top and the bottom. So you could add a little arch, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, we'll add a little bit more. And then just a few skinny ones right there. Okay, then I'm going to just take a little bit of white and add a little bit inside here. I know it's going to dry a little bit darker, so I want to have a bit of white here to counteract that, so it dries to a nice light plum kind of a color. You can also go through these little boards and add a little bit to the stairs. Okay, and we can add a few little window boxes as well. So I'm going to take some black first, and I'll just add little rectangles or little lines. So we'll just make the bottom of the windows a little bit thicker. All right, and then same brush, I'll use a little bit of turquoise, all three greens, okay? Olive green, hunter green, and some turquoise. And this way we have all these different hues and temperatures of green, making it really pleasing to the eye and more interesting. Just a few little taps. You can add a little bit of dangly vines with these same colors while we've got them here. Okay, again, turquoise, olive green, and the hunter green. A little bit more of the turquoise here. And then what I'd like to do is take a bit of hunter green, turquoise, and blue. And then where we've got some cooler shadows and different types of vines and maybe ivy, just add a few little taps and dabs in here. Tap, tap, tap. Turn your brush, pick it up, push and tap. Okay, now I'm going to take some of my orange, a little bit of that white in there, and I'm just going to add a little bit more light. Some of these areas on the house. And then down below too. I'm going to take some of my rose and I'm going to just tap, tap, tap for some flowers. No water at all. It's kind of nice when the brush splits apart in tubes like that. Then you can get more flowers. You can double it up, making it easier. I think I'll add just a little bit more up here. And a couple here. And the next thing I want to do is add just a little bit of yellow and orange to these little pie slices of windows. A little bit more warmth in there. Then a bit of black, rose, and blue. Some of these have a little bit of shadow on them. They look like they're not standing out enough. So that's all you have to do if that happens, is just take a little bit of a darker shade of what you used. And just add it there. Okay, I think we can start adding a few little bushes around here. I've got this little stipple brush here. It's kind of an oval, long oval. Use any stipple brush you have, or round mop brush, oval mop brush, even a Filbert. And I'm going to start with a little bit of black and my hunter green. Okay, so I've just got a little area here, and I'm going to kind of just tuck these stairs in here. Tuck them in with some foliage along the side here, and a little bit of foliage in between the windows. I'm going to bring this up a little bit higher by adding some more shadows, sort of in a rounded peak. All right, then I'm going to take some light olive green and a little bit of hunter green, just a little bit. And we'll just start adding a few highlights here, make these stand out a little bit more. A little bit more of just a light olive green now. We can come down here, emphasizing having that light casting down a little bit brighter under the windows. And then I'm going to take rose, and I'll just start dabbing some pretty little roses along here. Maybe a couple down along here. We need to save some room for some little pumpkins as well. Maybe a couple little things, a couple little flowers that continue up there. Then a little bit of white with the rose, not over blending. Little taps. Okay, then a little bit more with my liner brush. Just sort of swirl a little bit of that white and rose together. And just tap. Tap, tap, tap. Take a little bit more turquoise and some olive green. And I'll add a few cool shades of leaves in here. A few little light olive green ones here and there. It's nice to have different temperatures like I mentioned earlier. Add a little bit of white to my light olive green. And add a few more highlights up here. You can definitely use your mop brush if you want, or just tap them in with a filbert like this. So I like to show you guys different ways of applying it if you don't have the same brush as me the first time, so now I'm going back and showing you how you can apply it using a filbert brush. Okay, so see the light is casting down in this area from the windows. Same with here, we'll just add a little bit. And then I like to just sometimes softly blend with my finger. I'll take a little bit more of my hunter green. And just kind of in between there. Hunter green, turquoise, a little bit of blue. And let's add a little bit in between here. I do want to add just a little chimney over here, so I'm going to take black, a little bit of orange and white, and we'll just have, yeah, I think we'll just have one right about here. Let's just add a little rectangle like that, and I'll add a little bit of moss. Just tap a little bit to get it kind of to blend in with the roof. I'm going to rinse my brush out. All right, then I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to add a little wiggle, 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 wiggle. Or a puff of smoke like that. And we can make it a little bit narrower too. And a little bit less smoky. Just add a little bit. A little goes a long way. It's just a suggestion, right? Don't want to add too much, otherwise it'll overpower. Okay, I'm going to take some more rose and blue this time. And I'm going to add maybe some hydrangeas. A little bit of white. Mix that in with what's on my brush. Actually, I'm just going to take a little bit more here. And I'm going to tap that in. Okay, then I'm going to have a little bit on the tip of my brush and just do little taps for those little individual flowers. And we'll add a little bit here and there. You can add any kind of flowers that you want. And now I think it's time to start adding our little pumpkins. So I'm going to take some white, yellow, and orange. A little bit more orange, yellow. And I think we'll add one right here. So just push, little circles or ovals. And then maybe another little one right here. They don't all have to be the same size or shape. And we'll have a little one right here on the front step. Okay, I'm going to take some more orange and a little bit of black because we need a shadow from down here, the underside. And then we can have maybe another one. Could have another one kind of just resting over here. Maybe we've got a little pumpkin patch. Okay, then I'm going to take some white and just start adding little arched lines like this. And we know this is going to dry a little bit darker, right? So I'm just adding a little bit of white to make sure my pumpkins aren't too dark when they dry, but also not see-through. So the white will balance out. I'll have a little tiny one right here as well. The white will balance that out. It'll make the colors, your paint, opaque and not transparent. I'll take a little bit of black here. Just go underneath. Maybe a little bit of green. Add just some kind of vines coming down here. Kind of tuck these in with some leaves and foliage. One thing that's kind of catching my attention right here, and it's kind of bugging me, is just right above the door, in between the window and the door. I'm missing a little bit of space right there. So just took my purple again. Now with a little bit of black, I'll go up higher and just reapply some more black for my door frame, and then a little bit of black around the side of my pumpkin and the base. Gotta have those shadows. Okay, I'm gonna just keep using this brush. So I'm gonna take my orange, black, and a little bit of light olive green and add the little tops, little stems, just little curves. Now I'm not going to have any carved pumpkins. I'll let you guys do that if you want, but like if you guys want to do that, I think that'd be a nice idea. But just for this one, and I do have some real Halloween tutorials with pumpkin faces and a little bit more Halloween vibe to them, but for this one I just want to have more of a fall feel, and just with the pumpkins and the cozy atmosphere that fall has. So all I'm doing is with my liner brush here, taking a little bit of white and olive green to add the stems. This is the orange that I'm using. It's by Holbein. Let me just get the top open again. It's dried over. Okay, just squeeze out a little bit like this. And I'm going to just go over a few areas here to add more of a pumpkin color, a little bit more excitement and orange here. You can start right from the bottom where that black is. And even if you pick up a little bit of black, that's okay too. A little bit of black down there, pulling it from the bottom, will help add some extra shadows. So I'll just take a little bit right here and I'll show you. So I'm going to come right from the bottom, pull, pull, and same as here, we can pull a little bit of water, just a tiny bit of water. It's really, really beneficial when you're using a liner brush. I think I need just a little bit more. A little bit more color on this guy up here. And a bit there. Back over to my Filbert brush. Just gonna carefully blend this out slightly. And then I'm gonna take some hunter green and some turquoise. Wiggle my brush to get those bristles back. And I think I'm gonna add some larger leaves here. Push, wiggle, and let off. And a little bit of white for those colors again. Mix the color and then just have a little bit on your brush. This is just for a little bit of some highlights there. And wiggle, twist. A little bit of light olive green. Okay, this area here, I'm going to add a little bit of that light purple that I made along with more of the rose. So I'm just kind of pulling into both of them. And I'm just going to push and tap. Okay, well, I'm happy with how this turned out. This was so much fun. Thanks so much for joining me today. Hope you all enjoyed it as well. See you soon in another video. Take care, everyone, and thanks again. Bye.